Previously on Training Think Tank's Road to the Open. Coach Max El-Hag was all like,
"Man, the Open's all crazy and chaotic."
And CrossFit Games athlete Travis Mayer was all like,
"I'm so cool, I only had to do the workouts one time to make to regionals."
While Kyle Spears was nowhere to be found.
F*** your documentary. You think just because you added some black bars in, people are gonna think it's more than just a YouTube video?
So we've got 53 people moving on to the next stage of the qualifier this year. It's the most we've ever had. And I can't be more proud of the organization and the work that all the coaches together have done to get our athletes here. It's pretty fucking awesome. When it comes to repeats in open workouts, it really comes down to whether or not you're trying to qualify. And so making the decision about whether or not you think your score is good enough or not, I think what it comes down to is having good data. And one of the advantages we've got is that we are pulling data from all these different regions across the world, so we can kind of create our own internal leaderboard. Since everyone's kind of holding back their scores all week and nothing really shows up on the leaderboard until the last Monday when it's due, we actually have a pretty good idea of where people are at. So that lets us on like Friday or Saturday make determinations about, yes, you need to repeat this workout because your score is 25 reps behind our top 5 guys. And if you're trying to qualify, you need to be within that 10 rep range. So that's the number one piece that goes into deciding whether or not there's a repeat. And then if someone thinks they made a big mistake, you know what I mean? People fuck up the first time that they're doing the open workouts. There's no getting around that. I think it takes a special athlete to not have to do that. Someone like Travis or Noah who has years of experience in the sport, knows themselves really well, they may not have to repeat workouts because they can get it right the first time. But most athletes have to go through at least a trial run to figure out where things are going, how things are going to feel, where they fuck up, and then we can kind of take that and build a better plan for them for their repeat. The things that you're going to do between your first attempt and your second attempt, it's really going to be dependent on the individual. Did you have a pacing mistake? Did you go out way too hot? Did you try and pace off the example video from the Thursday night release? Did you are your movements inefficient? Were you using a really inefficient movement technique? And I think the best example of that was in week 1 where people were switching the dumbbell on the ground versus switching in the air. And it just put them in a hunched over, bent over position that blew up their backs really early in the workout. So for those guys, it was about, learning to switch the dumbbell in the air. And then, I think the other one that really matters is it depends on how fucked up people are after the first workout. If you are super messed up after the first workout, you've got to just take it easy. You've got 2 or 3 days to recover, and that's it. And you have to come back and put out your best effort in the next one. So I think determining where people fall on that spectrum, that's what matters.
Having a team on site has been pretty cool this year. The goal of the team is not to win. It's so that our coaches and athletes have a platform to compete and do teamwork, and it's been really awesome to watch that evolve and grow over time. And I'm excited, honestly, just to see what happens.
On site. On site. I need right now.
So the team is myself, Macy, Brandy, Chastity, Joey, and Kyle Spears. Kyle Spears has multiple years CrossFit Games team experience. Chastity is potentially a CrossFit Games Masters athlete. She was a regional athlete last year. Macy's a new young buck coming to the crew. Brandy has a lot of experience competing on teams and past regional experience. Joey's pretty new to the sport. I think this is his second year competing, but he finished pretty high in the region. It's natural for our team to have said, oh, this year we're just going in to see where we kind of stack up, and I honestly like it that way. because now we don't have pressure on ourselves to set a super high expectation for performance. And being on a team in the past with what I've seen, this is a good position to be in because we have nothing to lose. It's our first time doing it. We're a new team getting together. I'm excited to go in and honestly shock a lot of people because I know that we have really, really hardworking athletes on this team that are very methodical. We all train very smart. We're all very in tune with our own individual weaknesses. We know them very well. So I have full confidence knowing that everyone on this team is going to be spending all the other time that we're not training together as a team working on those individual weaknesses that might slow us down on the competition floor. So I'm very excited just to build that camaraderie again, because when you have each other's backs and you're able to rely on other people, but you also have pressure to not let anyone down, you just react well. I love that stress, and I'm excited for the pressure again. I used to think that I was done competing because I was tired and couldn't really handle pressure anymore. I had a lot of work stress, life stress going on, but now I'm in a comfortable position to handle that again, and I'm really excited for some training and competition pressure again.
So I think it's really important to keep your ego in check. I think that's a good life philosophy because your ego is the identity that travels with you through your entire life. It's important to construct one that allows you to build meaning, but I think some people get so lost in their egos that they stop growing. And the Open, or any challenging opportunity in life, is a possibility for you to grow as a human being. So if you have your ego in check, you have the potential to grow as a person.
Fucking dumbbells again. I know that really threw a lot of people through a loop the first week, since that's not really something that we trained a ton in the off season. So just having 2 workouts hinge on that was just kind of stressful. Just knowing my athletes and how certain people are wired up relative to others, some people are really good at motor learning tasks, so they could just touch it real quick on Friday and then crush it that afternoon. It's not an issue. Other people tend to be a little bit more finicky with picking up movements, and they have a harder time developing new skills. So for those people, it became less of a test of their actual capacity and all the things that they trained for, and more of just an issue of they're not good at learning new things on the fly.
I was personally surprised to see dumbbells again. I thought that it might have been a one and done on that. When I saw them come out again, it wasn't like a shock, it was just more of a surprise to me. I wasn't the biggest fan of the standards on the power cleans. That's more just a personal thing for me. I think that's something where it's a little bit murky. The power cleans seem to also be sort of a side note to that workout in general. It was really coming down to the density of the toes to bar and the muscle ups. I was talking with Kyle Ruth about this a little bit, and I actually went back and looked at some of my own athletes' numbers. 17.2 was probably my personal athlete's worst finish on aggregate. And for me as a coach, I have to be able to learn from the Open just as I would expect my athletes to. So going back, what are we doing for high density muscle up work? What are we doing for high density toe to bar work? Are we doing sets big enough that they're going to be able to hang on when it gets tested in that muscle endurance sort of setup like that, as opposed to just doing AMRAP 15 minutes of 10, 10, 10, 10.
Somewhere over the dunes of love, I walk.
All of a sudden it hits you in the face. You're like, I can't hold on to the bar anymore. My forearms feel like Popeye. So for me, halfway through that workout was actually when I started panicking a little bit, because I felt fine, but my forearms didn't. So that was one of the things as an athlete. I'm like, okay, well, how do I handle this? And what would I tell my athletes to do to handle it? And figuring out on the fly, okay, I'm gonna break these into smaller sets. I'm gonna do 2, rest 8 seconds, 2, rest 8 seconds, 2, and just kind of keep a linear pacing model worked well for me throughout that workout.
Well, I was definitely confident coming out of week 1. Just having seen the way my athletes performed in week 1, I was like, all right, they're prepared. Like we're gonna smash this open. I think I had, at that point, I had like 11 or 12 individuals that were in like either the top 20 or the top 25. And I'm like, all right, we're on. And week 2 came out and I'm like, oh man, we've touched on bar muscle ups consistently all year. I've had all my athletes doing walking lunges at least a minimum of once a week in the last like 3 months leading into the Open, just because it's something that if you haven't touched it, man, it can leave you pretty wrecked. So I'd done all this prep for workouts that were gonna contain these elements, but seeing the results, I was like, man, these are not, this didn't pan out the way I wanted to. It was almost like I went from the high in week 1 of, man, I've got everyone prepared, everyone's ready to do what to what they set out to do, to week 2 where I'm like, oh man, like I'm not sure that we're really ready for this. So it was like high to low, literally week 1 to week 2, and I think it showed a pretty clear, like we've talked about, pretty clear coaching bias.
Yeah, 17.2 was just kind of a grip burner and how good you were with hanging on to the dumbbells and the bar muscle ups and toes to bar. So I think having training a lot with just my grip endurance through racing motocross and growing up, it kind of helped me. But made a couple little mistakes on dropping the dumbbells down on 7 instead of just hanging on for the final rep on the cleans. Could have made up a lot of time, but something you just live and learn by.
The first one was something that we're pretty familiar with. Done a ton of dumbbell snatches in my life, lots of burpee box jump overs. 17.2, however, I haven't done a whole lot of dumbbell front rack walking lunges mixed with dumbbell cleans and a strange number of toe to bar and muscle ups. It was just a very unknown workout, and based off of the performance of Carrie Pierce and Christy Aramo, it was hard to gauge how many rounds I should expect or how many rounds the best score is gonna be. So that one was a little bit more, had a little bit more uncertainty to it. But I think, again, because of that uncertainty, it was kind of like, all right, well, you just gotta go then. And I went into it and tried to just do the dumbbell cleans right into the lunges, unbroken every single time, to save myself time on transitions there and give myself a second to chalk up and rest my grip before starting the toe to bar and the muscle ups. Pulling from previous experience in the Open specifically, I've got a decent grip, but in a workout that's very, very grip heavy, I can tend to kind of lose a lot of time there if I have to break. So I decided to break it up early. I think it was, 12 toe to bar, something like that, 15 toe to bar each round. It was a pretty moderate amount, but rather than going for big sets off the bat, I think I broke them up right away in sets of like 5 or 8. And I think it was 16. So I think I went 8 and 8 at first, and then on the second go through, or the second round of the chunks, I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe that particular one, but I ended up going 4, 4, 4, 4, quick sets, quick turnaround, getting right back on the bar to save my grip a little bit. And I think that worked relatively well, because on the final set of muscle ups, that was my goal, was to get back to that second set in the second round of the bar muscle ups and just do as many as I could there. It's funny how goals change, because I wanted to get at least one. That was before the workout. I said, I'm going to get at least one muscle up there and I'll be happy. And I think I ended up getting like 12 or 14 and was too short of finishing the round. And, or no, you know what? I think it was 9. And when I finished the workout, I was like, oh man, one more. 10 is just such a cooler number, like a rounder, more even, flat number. And I was kind of disappointed for 10 minutes that I hadn't done one more muscle up. But all in all, I was relatively satisfied with that one as well. I think that actually ended up being a higher placement than the first one, and boom, it was on to 17.3.
The team experience in general, in any capacity, is a microcosm of life to me. we strive in every day to be connected, to have meaning, to inspire other people. And when you're on a team with other people striving to get something accomplished, the range of emotions that you experience and the feeling of connection that you experience is really, it's impossible to try to compare to anything else. I've been on football teams, I've been on a CrossFit Games team, I've done team workouts in here. I've watched this team grow and mold together, and it has such a unique energy, and it drives people to get so much better because they don't want to be the weak link in the chain. I think there's also just more joy involved in the process. Not to say that team is better than individual, but there is just some sort of inherent beauty to it.
Make your day break. You in silence, raise nothing dramas.
Oh, what? No slow-mo high-fiving in the sunset this time?